online. I won't share anybody's poop pictures, but this one's really cool. I haven't shown anybody this yet, so this will be great.
Oh.
Just as people are trickling in, I just want to see if they can get them warmed up, get them primed for some parasites.
And for those that are just tuning in, and for those who are just tuned into the replay, Dr. J is looking up some pictures of parasites for us as we wait to get started.
So this is, let me go to the top of the article here. So this comes from popscience.com, October of 2017. Basically, they have a super camera, basically, that can take pictures of tiny things. So that right there, I think, is a skin cell. Yeah, skin cell right there.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
So let's scroll down to that right there. Look at that. That's a tapeworm head.
Whoa.
That is out of a horror film. That's sci-fi.
Isn't that crazy?
Whoa.
It looks kind of like a Homer Simpson cartoon creepy guy with teeth.
Wow.
So
that is insane.
Popular Science.
Are they eyes? Or are they just some form of like suckers?
They totally look like eyes. I mean, that literally looks like a creature. And that is obviously microscopic tapeworm. The front end of the tapeworm has suckers and hooks for attaching to the lining of the host. So those are suckers. The head is inverted back inside the tapeworm's body until it reaches the human gut. Eversion is stimulated by mammal bile and digestive juices. Halloween costume idea, anyone?
So next Halloween, you're like, what are you dressed as? You're like, I'm a tapeworm. You're like, what?
Anyone this October decides to go as a tapeworm, do let me know. Send pictures.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I found that one just the other day.
Thank you for sharing.
Now I know why, so I can share it.
Oh, so Tyler, tapeworms go into this small intestine?
So parasites can be everywhere in the body. They can be in the brain, they can be in organs, they can be in the skin. They're really common, though, in the digestive tract. And they love the small intestine. They love the liver and bile duct area. So typically, like when people do a colonic where they like flush the colon out, I mean, you can see parasites sometimes, but most of the parasites aren't in the large intestine. They're up higher in the GI tract in the small intestine. So that's where taking some herbs are really good to clear those out. And then support your liver bile duct.
Yeah.
Tudka. So.
Okay. Thank you. Well,
people will still be.
So tapeworm, Tudka rocks, says Tyler. That's awesome. You have a believer here. That's awesome. All right.
I just went into a cave for a couple days and did all did research on Tudka, and had some of my team do research on Tudka and went into it, and it is phenomenal. I mean, it protects against Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and heart. It's good for heart disease. If somebody has a stroke, it prevents damage from the stroke. It helps recovery. If somebody has a heart attack, it prevents heart cells from dying as many, and it also helps recovery. It prevents liver cells from dying, kidney, thyroid. I mean, it is like, it almost seems too good to be true. But the big thing about Tudka with drainage, it helps improve bile flow 250%, which is clearly amazing for the gut solutions. And I'm learning all this, obviously, after our interview. So I want to bring this to the Q&A portion. But it helps to increase bile flow 250%. It helps to increase the concentration of bile salts in the bile, which means better quality. So more flow, better quality. But then it actually helps the body to clear out more bile through the stool, because the body loves to recycle the bile and then the toxins come back with it. So bile, we're just seeing amazing results clinically with Tudka. So yeah.
Oh, wow.
Thanks for letting sit on that.
PubMed research too. Just it's absolutely incredible, the research side.
That's exciting. So for anyone that has just signed in, we're talking about Tudka. So what is Tudka for those that don't know?
So Tudka is naturally in human bile. It is a water-soluble bile acid. Human bile contains about 2% Tudka. Bear bile contains about 50% Tudka. Bull bile, about 40% Tudka. So it's naturally in humans and animals, but there's something about this molecule that when you increase that within the body, that health is just I mean, it's radically changed. So they've been using TUDCA in Chinese medicine for over 3,000 years, using it, extracting it from bear bile. So we were looking at, animal sourcing, and obviously we're like, I'm not going to take, I don't even think you can get TUDCA from humans, but we were kind of looking at that. But the whole idea is if you extract it from animals, you're going to get impurities and other things that come along typically with it that you don't want. So we have ours created. The TUDCA that we have just for purity, consistency. That way it's the purest thing out there, and it's every bottle is really consistent. And then you don't have it, coming from an animal. I don't know. It kind of sounds weird, but it's been used for thousands of years, and that's probably why there's so much PubMed research that they dove into it too. Just it's absolutely incredible. But it's amazing on the technology side. If you've heard of peptide, the kind of the science of peptides and BPC 157 and all these peptides, and basically they can just print them and make them. Essentially, that's what we can do too with TUDCA. So it's cool stuff.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. And for those that are just listening, that's TUDCA, TUDCA.
Yes, and it's all capitalized because it's an acronym, and it stands for tauroursodeoxycholic acid. And that's why we all abbreviate it TUDCA.
Yeah, much better.
That's cool. We're all learning about this together. Because, so you said, do you actually have that as part of your store, your supplement company, TUDCA?
Yeah. We just came out with ours officially to the public finally about 2.5 weeks ago.
So we've been, so it's fresh off the...
Yeah, tested it for a while, and then we ran into some manufacturer issues because we don't use fillers in our supplements, and it was just jamming the machines up. So had to make some modifications with some of the machinery, and but we got it rocking and rolling, and it is available. So
so exciting.
Cool.
Epic.
Well, thanks for that. And if you on the page that you are
you talking to the tribe now?
Yeah, the tribe. So on the Virtual Health Retreat page, Jay's given our viewers a 10% off. So
is that included on the TUDCA as well?
Oh yeah, I should have qualified that.
TUDCA's right in our store. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, so we'll make sure that's included.
Dr. Jay has been so wonderful for our Q&A today, and for our tribe, he's given us a 10% discount. So if you like anything we're talking about today, we're not here to promote products today, but I like to gather discounts for you guys, and Jay was so generous to give us one. So if you'd like to go on the store, I'll type in the code here. It's Sarah with a H, SARAH 10. So that will work on the store. So
I love
very
the
exciting.
accent of the H.
And we have a link on our page as well if you're wondering how to get that. But we're not here to promote anything. It's Jay's has been super generous, and we didn't want you to miss out on anything.
What's the name of your store again? Microbe. That's it. Microbe Formulas.
Yep. Yeah. I just came out of the research hole a few weeks ago on TUDCA, and I'm just and thinking about clearly your the audience and the digestive tract. I mean, it is TUDCA. And we were just doing some testing yesterday morning. I want to say we, Dr. Todd Watson, myself, and testing out, if you have constipation, what are the best steps really to follow? And the intestinal mover was testing number 1, which is, another product of ours. But then I was like, the second thing, I always like to add magnesium. I always like to add vitamin C then, right, to get the bowels moving. And what's funny is the TUDCA Plus actually came up second for priority, that even increasing the bile flow then actually helps just the bowel movements in general. So it's amazing how the liver bile duct is so intricately connected and linked with the actual intestinal tract. It makes sense, but it's good just as we continue to better understand what we need to do to the body and with the body to help it heal.
Cool. Thank you so much for that, Jay. And definitely take advantage of that if you're looking for something, because we know the nutraceutical space is very filled with a lot of sharks, and there's a lot of contaminations, toxicity,
fillers, quality products
in this space. Yep. And so when we're recommending stuff like this to you, we know that guys have put a lot of research and time into it, and the quality is really good.
Yeah.
So thanks for that. But we don't want to waste so much time. We want to get into our questions. So our first one's from Vicky, and she's saying, "Hi, Dr. J. Can you kindly give me a method of parasite cleansing on the premise that no stool tests for parasites were done because no lab tests are available in her city? The parasite cleansing procedure will be done just assuming parasites exist. Also, can you recommend what natural ways there are to remedy clogged arteries on a daily?" Maybe we'll just start with the first question. That's a whole yeah, that's a huge question of itself.
So everything I say today is just my opinion, clinically. So, the things that you love, run with it. The things you're like not sure about, that's okay. I just, again, want to be here to serve and help out as much as I can. So when we're looking at stool testing, I'm not a big fan. There's over 100 different species of parasites that affect humans, and there's no lab that detects them all. So the fact that if you ran one and it came up negative, I would still say it's time to parasite cleanse, just because most likely you have it. And then even if you ran one and it's like, oh, it showed positive, well, what's to say that that's the only strain that's actually positive in the body? So my recommendation is, instead of spending money in lab testing for stool tests, and again, this is my opinion, I would recommend put that toward assuming you do have parasites, because you live on the earth and you get parasites through food. You get parasites through water. You get parasites no matter what diet you follow, plant-based or the carnivore, and everything in between. Parasites are in meat. They're in vegetables. You can also get it in the air. If I were to sneeze, you can actually get a pinworm egg via sneezing. So it's not just bacteria and viruses that you want to cover your mouth for. So parasites are everywhere. So I just recommend going into parasite cleansing. I'm biased, obviously, with our parasite formulas that we offer, but like Mimosa pudica seed, the Formula 1's got a bunch of Ayurvedic herbs in it. I would recommend just a minimum 60, if not 90 days off the bat. And then if you notice, I'm getting like intestinal type symptoms and things are changing and happening, or you can even see things come out, and only 30% of the parasites are visible by the naked eye. So if you do see them, like, that's awesome, but if you don't, doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot. But recommend 90 days typically minimum. Some people need 6 months, especially those with gut issues might need longer. One of the big breakthroughs recently that we're really figuring out is why people stay infected with parasites, even if they use really awesome, effective antiparasitic herbs. It's because of radioactive elements. So radioactive elements are essentially uranium, cesium, radium. Radium is a really big issue. EPA, or not the EPA, the Environmental Working Group, so that would be the EWG, found that 170 million Americans have toxic levels of radium in their water supply in the US. That's literally almost half the population. And essentially what that is, radium, so if you know of uranium, they use it to power nuclear reactors. Radium has 3 million times more energy than uranium does. And it's dangerous when it's internal. So when radium's in water, you swallow it, it's essentially like swallowing a hot coal, that it's just emitting energy and damaging bonds and things like that. But one of the reasons why we're finding people stay stuck in this chronic infection stage and they can't get over it, even if they follow amazing protocols and take effective things, is because that these radioactive elements are actually suppressing the immune system and not allowing the body to function. So no matter what help you're giving it, until you start clearing these radioactive elements out, you get, you kind of hit that plateau. So parasite cleanse, I would just assume everybody's got it. Do at least 90 days. And then what do you do after that? If you don't want to continue beyond that, and when you think you're done, do another month. But I recommend full moon. So take 5 days over a full moon, 2 days before on the full moon, 2 days after, right? So 5 days total. Hit high doses, multiple things that are antiparasitic natural herbs over a full moon, because that's usually when parasites are most active. And just do that every month for a few months. And then you can go like every other month or every third month. And then when you're, after you do 90 days parasite cleansing, you move to the full moon. The in-between, between the full moon and, when you stop kind of the main parasite stuff, that's when you can really focus on detoxification. So that's kind of the latest breaking on the clinical protocol side.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, thank you. That's for you, Vicky. And the next question comes from Heather. She says, hello, question for Dr. J. I understand the detox protocol kit of supplements from Microbe Labs is safe for nursing moms, except the metal detox portion. Can you speak more to this? I'm nursing my 3-year-old, so not a baby anymore, so she doesn't get as much breast milk. However, I feel nervous about doing anything detox related, as I don't want to get what I'm detoxing into my milk supply. I also feel a great need to hold off on some sort of detox support for myself any longer. So she's trying to weigh up the two things. Should I? Was the baby? 3 years. 3 years.
Yeah. Oh, 3 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's not feeding the I guess, toddler very much anymore. Should I only focus on digestion through a good through good probiotics, enzymes, and focus on supplements from microbe labs that support the elimination system. I suspect my daughter also needs the same support I need around digestion and detox. Thanks for anything you can speak to about this, Heather.
Yeah, so it depends on, usually when somebody's pregnant is the most limitations. You don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to stir up infection. You don't want to stir up toxins. So you want to do very supportive things. Then as you deliver the child and the baby is really little, pretty similar guidelines. But as the child gets a little bit older, especially like 6 months and older, that kind of opens you up to starting to really go more after pathogens. Yeah, and I'm talking more in general. There's times where a mom they need to, and there's no other choice, right? But then usually in that part, their body can't even handle breastfeeding. So then, that's usually out of the picture. But typically 6 months and beyond gives you a little bit more grace to start then treating yourself a little bit more. When somebody is 2 years old, 3 years old, and doing the breastfeeding thing, which is just usually like once a week type of thing or twice a week, it's not typically the frequency decreases. You're pretty much wide open to, you can start detoxing. You can start parasite cleansing. I mean, pretty heavily. I wouldn't be too concerned about that just because the child's older. But in general, the general guideline is don't do a lot of killing of pathogens and don't do a lot of detoxing when you're pregnant or breastfeeding. So that's really a time of supportive. Obviously, the older the child is, then the more grace you get. And then it can also, that stuff passes through, like the supplements you take will pass through the breast milk to give to the child as well to benefit. So it's not as if like, oh, I'm going to start detoxing, all the toxins are going to spread to them. It's also the supplements that you're taking are going to, which are going to help protect as well. At least in the bioactive carbons like that we have. I think she said microbe formulas, but.
Mm-hmm. And so you'd feel pretty comfortable her using your detox protocol kit with her child being 3 years old?
Oh yeah. I would say start slow and low. And the thing is, usually when 3 years old, it's not going to be a big deal. But the smaller a child is, if the child stops wanting to breastfeed, then it could mean that whatever you're taking or food or supplement is altering the milk. And then that's not good, right? If the child stops feeding or starts getting fussy or starts getting gassy, then okay, whatever I just introduced probably is either too much or I need to, steer away from that for a little bit. So like mimosa pudica seed, awesome, real gentle. When you start getting into Ayurvedic herbs, now there's a mixture of multiple things. So that would be something I wouldn't introduce right away when somebody's really, really young. But when they get older, it's like you get a lot more grace.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so this question comes from Anna.
So Anna said, question for Dr. J. I struggle with SIBO and lots of food sensitivities, and I thought I should rule out parasites, as the SIBO started from one day to the next when I was on a holiday abroad, eating masses of fresh figs every day. Though GP shows nothing. Have you have just bought a 3-month well of life detox? If nothing shows changes during the 3-month process, can I assume that this is not an issue for me, or should I be giving it longer than that? Thanks, Susan from the UK.
SIBO, I'm always looking at intestinal motility, so making sure the bowels are moving. TUDCA plus, or just TUDCA in general, I would throw in there to move the bile, because that's going to really help that whole process. You can always have a practitioner check your ileocecal valves to make sure it's not open. Sometimes parasites can group and plug that valve open. Sometimes it can be long tapeworms running from the small intestine to the large intestine that prop that open. Then you get the backflow. I do see parasites so common with SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So any even hints of SIBO, I'm always jumping in on parasite cleansing, just making sure that the bowels move. It really depends. I mean, I did so much. I'm not sure the cleanse you're talking about or the company's products. But I did parasite cleansing multiple times. Never saw anything. And then when I met Todd Watts and he was showing me pictures of stuff and he sent me mimosa pudica seed. Then 16, 17 days later, I'm pulling worms out of my rear end. I was like, oh my gosh, that was my thing. But I didn't see anything with the previous things I did. So just because you don't necessarily see results might be just, you might not be taking the right thing, or it might not be the right path for you. I mean, it's hard to decipher what that is. For me, I mean, I just look back, I'm like, so many of my symptoms, food allergies, food big purple bags under my eyes, and chronic skin, skin issues, just acne, all that, teeth grinding, so many things, and sensitive digestive tract. I remember before we went to college, we bought like a big pack of the generic Imodium, just because I'd get random times where I'd get some diarrhea. And of course my thought was bind it up, when that's really a sign your body's giving you, saying, hey, diarrhea, what's the source? What's the cause? And so I track everything back. I'm like, parasites was huge for me. And of course I see this clinically, but it doesn't automatically guarantee that everybody is going to have the main thing as parasites. I think it's always a piece to it, but.
Okay. Thank you so much. This next question comes from Bonnie. She says, hi, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, psoriasis, and GERD in 2011. Recently, I've developed an embarrassing issue of excessive belching. I'm presuming I have dysbiosis and possibly SIBO. My GP told me that no one in our area, he has no one in our area to help me with this. I've started taking probiotics, L-glutamine, and digestive enzymes. I'm also eating fermented foods. Can you recommend anything else? Do you have any idea, Ree, how long it might take to see any improvement? Thank you so much. Take care, Bonnie.
I would totally push into the bile movement. Move the bile, move the bile, move the bile. So the liver makes bile, puts it, releases it into the bile duct. If you still have a gallbladder, it's a storage sac. It concentrates the bile like 20 times. Then when you eat a meal, we squeeze a sac, release the bile to neutralize stomach acid and emulsify fat. Where GERD can come in, gastric reflux, belching, burping, is when the food's not really processing and getting through. That could be because you don't have enough bile to neutralize the stomach acid. So the body's not making enough stomach acid because we don't have what we can do to neutralize it. I always see those issues change, moving the bile. So, there's probably lots of herbs and things like milk thistle and dandelion root and beetroot and all these things. Tudka plus, Tudka, and it's probably just because I've been in the research so heavily and I've seen it work clinically. I brought this to functional medicine probably 4.5 years ago, but now diving into the newest research and what's come out, top thing I would say. And if you get any symptoms from taking Tudka, it's usually the first week or two, because it's opening things up that the body hasn't had open. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just dose lower, be persistent, consistent, get through it. And as you start opening that up more and more, you're going to feel amazing. And you're not going to crash, but that is amazing for gastric reflux and that whole, what I would say, like more upper GI type issues.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome. A quick question for Dr. J. I have a history of antibiotic use as a baby and as a teenager. She has anxiety, depression, infertility issues, autoimmune diseases, IBS, blood-brain barrier permeability, food sensitivity, sleep issues, aluminium toxicity, arthritis, acne, and have 2 children with sensory issues and autism. On my journey, parasites were ruled out with a Genova stool test, but I understood that this may not be accurate to rule out parasites. I'm currently on neem, bearberry, and caniostat for the SIBO. Have been following the protocol for healthy liver by Anthony William and just started enemas. I was wondering how and when to start parasite treatments given my history and SIBO and current protocols. What is the relationship of parasites to these issues and your thoughts on the order of these treatments?
So that's from Rebecca.
Yeah. Top thing, parasites. Parasites are known for infertility. They love to affect the reproductive organs, especially after you have kids too. But if you look at like uterine cysts, ovarian cysts, fibroids, all that is typically parasitic related. So if somebody has really bad menstrual periods, and especially that first 2 days where it's like incapacitated, your legs are numb, and it typically is parasites. And so when you're cleansing, understand sometimes those symptoms can flare up as you are disrupting what's the underlying reason of why you're getting those type of symptoms. So sometimes when you parasite cleanse, you'll see whatever the symptoms are that they're causing flare up sometimes during that process. And that's normal. It's retracing, it's, kind of healing through that. What were some of the earlier,
anxiety, depression, autoimmune disease, IBS.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And the long-term antibiotic use, I would really focus with, I'm not a big fan of probiotics. I'm a really big fan of fermented foods. I think you get so much more diversity and so much more bacteria that way. So I would absolutely dive in immediately. Personally, with parasite cleansing, in general, I like 30 days support drainage. Make sure you're pooping, support the liver bile duct. Tudca's good. I mean, we've got another like kidney liver type product. Use somebody else's stuff, whatever. Get in there, support the gut, support the liver bile duct. Do that for 30 days. Then add in some antiparasitics. And start going after that. You can have fermented foods at any time, but if you have histamine sensitivities, multiple chemical sensitivities, histamine intolerances, mast cell, oxalate type issues, that's almost always from parasite issues affecting the liver. So what you want to do is open the liver bile duct up and parasite cleanse. A lot of those people, though, are super sensitive, so they have to dose really low, and they're like, I can't get up to a normal dose. I'm hitting a wall. Well, do that for at least 2 to 3 months. Then when you've done that for a while, then that's when you bring in the mega dose, and you plan on kind of laying low at home for a couple of days. You're probably not going to feel the best, but you're going to get up over the hump and you're going to break that wall down. And it's like those sensitivities are going to, drastically lower once you can kind of get up over that hump. So if you have any histamine type issues, you want to look out for the fermented foods, but in general, I think you can add those in at any time, especially with the history of antibiotics. You know that the microbiome is not going to be ideal as far as ratios. There's going to be probably more bad than good. And so parasite cleansing would be the first step. And I would add fermented foods in there for sure for good bacteria.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thank you. This next question comes from Bea. She says, "Hi, Dr. Davidson. I'm a 54-year-old woman healing from a 2-year battle with sesamoiditis in my right foot. I've had surgery to remove one sesamoid and now have an injury to my remaining sesamoid bone. Besides all the other health information I have learned, I wonder if potassium is helpful for healing. I noticed that all the multivitamins on the shelves only contain about 2% of the RDA for potassium, yet I know potassium is an essential mineral for the body. I am familiar with some functional medicine research that states cancer feeds off potassium in the body. Is this why potassium is not found in multivitamins? If possible, if potassium is a safe and effective mineral for healing, how much should I take daily?"
I love potassium. It's a great electrolyte, great mineral. I'm a big fan of plant-based minerals and broad spectrum because I think we need all the minerals together, like in synergy. I do find that there is, if you megadose on just like a single or 2 minerals, that you could potentially throw the balance off of other ones. So that is something to consider. So I'm a big fan of plant-based, multi-mineral, and then additional minerals. Iodine I would throw in where you can additionally take it. Magnesium, you could additionally take it, and zinc. Those are kind of my 3 that I would say, above. If you do a lot of activities, hot weather, like Puerto Rico in the summer, where you're sweating, just moving around the house, then maybe you do need, a little more potassium. I mean, coconut water and, other electrolyte type things will naturally have that in there. But when you're looking at sesamoiditis, itis, I-T-I-S at the end, that just means inflammation. So the inflammation clearly is in the foot or feet bones, essentially. So why is the inflammation there in the first place? Everybody gets different areas that get affected. Some people, when they get stressed out, they feel it in the gut. Some people, when they get stressed out, they feel it in the head. They get headaches and brain fog. Some people, when they get stressed out, they get skin reactions. Right? Or so we all kind of have our things that happen when our bodies gets over stressed out, and that's probably the area that obviously is where your stress is going. So I would not so much focus on the foot and potassium as much as I would think about, okay, what's the underlying inflammation issues? Typically, it comes back to chronic infections, which, parasites that I mentioned, but bacteria, viruses, retroviruses, fungus can be in that category too, and then toxins. Generally, it's just those two main categories, pathogens and toxins. And if you detox and you bring the pathogen load down, typically inflammation drops, which then is going to lessen the stress load on your body and most likely would help feet. I would also check though, what is your lifestyle? When do the feet get stressed out the most? You're on your feet a lot. What are the type of shoes you got? I'm a big fan of Zero shoes. I thought I was going to hate them and just heard good things about them. So I got a pair, and they are my favorite out of my Merrells and Vibrams and Five Fingers and all these, quote unquote natural shoes. Zero, it's XERO, I think is the company. So I would analyze that, but I wouldn't just focus on the foot as much as look at what's the underlying reason for inflammation in the body.
Okay, great. Fantastic.
Awesome. Next question from Jen. About 6 to 8 months ago, a nutritionist who specializes in natural female hormone health that I was working with recommended that I take magnesium to help with both winding down at the end of the night and my constipation. What I've been noticing when I take it is that I feel very groggy in the morning, but also if my daughter comes into the room in the middle of the night, I have a very hard time getting up to put her back to bed. I'm aware she is there, but I feel almost paralyzed. My eyes won't open, my body feels heavy, and I just have no ability or desire to get up. I stopped taking it for a while and have recently tried it again, but at half the dose. Even with half the dose, I wake up feeling groggy, heavy eyes mostly. Is this normal? I'm taking Natural Calm Ionic magnesium citrate powder. Magnesium carbonate is the medical ingredient. And non-medical ingredients are citric acid, organic natural raspberry and lemon flavors, and organic stevia. I'm working on the health, on healing my gut. So I don't know if it's me or the product or both.
I mean, I would say that's not typical for magnesium, but magnesium, there's all kinds of different forms. There's citrate, malate, threonate, glycinate. I would just try a different form. So clearly, whatever is happening with that form or that product, or, I mean, who knows? Your body doesn't seem to be doing well from it. So I would stay away from it. I would try something else. The thing that I always come back to, though, especially if it's the grogginess in the morning, like I see this when somebody takes melatonin at night and then they still have like that melatonin hangover in the morning of like, oh, if I got some sleep, but I just don't feel like I'm awake. It's like the residuals still, in you. That you want to look at liver. The liver is backed up and it can't process fast enough. So support the liver, the bile duct. That's really key too.
Okay,
Great.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much. This question comes from Tazuko, and she says, Dr. Davidson, I'm a senior woman. Hashimoto's with synthetic hormone I've been taking has started to be against my system or from other medical issues. I can only sleep about 3 hours, waking up every 1 to 2 hours for urination, which has been going on for the past 2 months. So I lost all the muscles, and I'm now skin and bone and blood and vessels only, but my belly is big like a fat person. I have had digestive problems for a long time, and now bloating, cramps, gas all the time, even with digestive aid. I know I have leaky gut, so I'm following the gluten-free diet, no sugar. Some dishes already contain sugar in it though, no milk, but I haven't seen good results yet. In your gut interview, you mentioned a certain herb for parasites, which I couldn't quite catch. Please give me the name of it, and where can I get it? Any side effects? And she says, examination several years ago showed she has, I'm not sure if this is Barrett esophagus.
Esophagus.
Okay. So from a functional medicine point of view, do you recommend anything in particular? So
the product was Mimosa pudica seed. We have that, microbeformulas.com. Just check the chat link or, links you guys put after this.
Yeah.
So Mimosa pudica seed. But when you have to urinate every couple hours at night, that means the kidneys are overstressed. The kidneys can get overstressed from the liver bile duct being stressed out, and then it passes on to the kidneys. So always liver bile duct. You'll find this in my answer. Like I always come back to this because it's such a central focus for GI, for health, for so many functions, hormones. I mean, all that, detoxification, drainage. The other thing, though, I would look at, though, and some of the testing that we've seen, especially in the last month or two, is that glyphosate can build up in the kidneys and really affect the function of the kidneys. And what we're finding actually that works good for that is actually megadosing the bioactive carbon minerals that we have. So the bioactive carbon minerals are a liquid, and it's a 2-ounce bottle. And this, the dosing that we found for a few of these individuals that were having some kidney problems was actually taking a quarter of the bottle, which sounds like a lot. It's a half an ounce twice a day for 2 days. So you basically take a bottle within 2 days, and it's strong enough to chelate the glyphosate out of the kidney to flush that out to then kind of reset the kidneys. Now, the bioactive carb minerals are like a plant-based, broad spectrum mineral that I was mentioning the importance of minerals there, but there's something about that helps to actually, well, in our testing, we're finding helps with glyphosate, heavy metals, and then even mycotoxins like the mold toxin. It helps to pull out and assist. So it's a good thing overall. But I would just go, especially in the kidneys with the urination, and then the bloating of the gut. I mean, you always want to make sure you're pooping, support the liver bile duct, obviously fix up the kidney area. Parasite cleansing, I would throw in there, especially with esophagus, Barrett's esophagus. If anybody's got esophagitis or eosinophilic esophagitis, high eosinophils, I mean, all those are signs that would really focus on the parasites for sure.
That leads us on to the next question. This is from Rebecca McGuire. She says, "Hi, Dr. J. Thank you for answering our questions. I'm not sure what to do. I have esophagitis based on endo test and IBS or worse, SIBO or worse, SIBO. I've changed my diet. I went to see my gastro MD on Tuesday, and she wants me to take these horse pills called, I'm pretty sure it's called sucralfate for coating the stomach. I took one look at the pill and told the pharmacist I would get back to them. My doctor also recommended I have the breath test for SIBO, which I'm fine doing. I have to pay $340 for it, and I'd like to know if you believe it's worth the money. My doctor also got an authorization for some type of medication if I do have SIBO, which I believe I do. What suggestions might you offer to this scenario? Thank you, Rebecca."
In just my experience, again, these are just my opinions. I wouldn't be spending a ton of money on that type of testing because I already see symptom-wise that you need to open up drainage pathways of the liver bile duct, and you got a parasite cleanse. So that's where I would start first. And then as you're going through, if you feel like, I'm just not making tracks or something doesn't seem right, then I would invest into some testing, to further dive in. But it's kind of in that hormone side when people are like, I want to get my hormones checked, estrogen and progesterone and testosterone and, all these hormones. I mean, it's great to have like pre and post and like to check in and track, but it also adds up financially. So I am more of like, let's dive into protocols. Let's really dig into the sources, give it a little bit, then run a hormone test to see where they're at. Because even if the hormones come up abnormal right away, I still, from a practitioner standpoint, let's detox. Let's go after the pathogens. Let's remove the sources of why that's there. Now, if you need bioidentical hormones just to help symptomatically because it's so bad, then run a test, and dose that appropriately. But I'm a really big fan of source. So I like to dive in, get going, and then if you feel amazing, no need to run tests. But if you feel like you're hitting walls, then spend. And I know my opinion is different than other clinicians, but just I guess kind of sharing my side. So
Thank you so much.
Cool, thank you. Petty, hey Dr. J, I've recently discovered that I have the homozygous MTHFR mutation. I'm still getting my head around what that means for me. Apparently, this type of mutation may result in decreased MTHFR enzyme activity of 40%, but it's not typically associated with increase in plasma homocysteine levels or an increased risk of venous thrombosis. From a gut perspective, do you think there is anything I need particularly to be aware of in light of the mutation? Thank you.
No. I went down the genomics. If you guys know Dr. Dan Stickler, genetics expert, I studied under him for 2 years and just went into that rabbit hole. And I came out and I'm like, it's environment. Your environment is so much more of a factor than your genes because your environment can turn genes on or off. So even if you have them, it doesn't necessarily mean that is your, that's your destiny or that's your issue necessarily, because there's so many different intricacies with the body. I feel like it's still too early in the genetic side. MTHFR, I always like to joke because it looks like mother effer, those mother effer genes. But really, when it comes down to it, you're actually abnormal if you don't have any mutation or variance in that gene. So it's actually normal to have mutations or variations there. It's actually abnormal. A very small percentage of the population, quote unquote, has normal genes in the MTHFR 677T, the 1298C, the COMT, right? The three big MTHFR type genes. So the reason why your friends and family haven't been diagnosed with MTHFR is because they didn't go to the same doctor to get diagnosed with it. Otherwise, they'd all be diagnosed with MTHFR. So that's my little beef, I guess, with the genes right now.
Okay, thank you.
Adele, I'm a chronic depression and big trauma survivor and wonder how to know if I still have the psychiatric drugs that I took for 12 years in my body and how to detox from them. I stopped taking them about 12 years ago, and I've been having heavy, foggy head for those 12 years and don't have candidiasis, SIBO, heavy metals, mold. I have IBS. Thank you.
Let me pull something up here. Here it is. Okay, so brain fog. So can you guys see the big slide there?
Yes,
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is the drainage funnel. If you understand this, everything changes and it makes life so much easier. So essentially, there's a difference between drainage and detox. Detox is pulling chemicals out of the body, removing them, right? Toxins, things like that. Drainage are the normal pathways that need to move fluids throughout the body. But there's a priority. So if you see this is a funnel. You pour stuff in the top and it comes down through the bottom, right? The colon. If the colon is backed up, that means that everything above it is going to get backed up in the funnel. If the liver bile duct is backed up, everything above that is going to get backed up in the drainage funnel. So that's why I'm such a big fan of make sure you're pooping and make sure you support the liver bile duct, because they're really the base foundation of the funnel itself. So if you look at the organs and tissues, the second one from the top, that's where the brain would fall in. So if we look at the brain, what they like to call the glymphatic system, it's glial cell and lymphatic together. So they say it's glymphatic. We know that the brain has a direct connection to the lymphatic system. Lymphatic system has a direct connection to liver bile duct and direct connection to the colon, right? So you can see that's the drainage funnel. So if you have brain fog, any type of brain type issues, you want to work on draining the brain. In order for the brain to drain, though, the lymphatic system has to be draining, the liver bile duct system has to be draining, and the colon has to be draining. So when you're working on brain drainage, it's not just taking something that helps drain the brain. And the number one thing to drain the brain is sleep, which usually is one of the common things that gets messed up when you're not feeling well, is sleep. But optimizing sleep will help that. But the only reason the brain will drain is because the other ones are draining. Now, if the liver bile duct gets backed up, so the liver processes toxins, wants to dump it into the bile. If that gets backed up, then instead of the toxin going to the blood, instead of the toxin going to the bile and then going into the GI, the toxins and byproducts get sent to the bloodstream. When it gets sent to the bloodstream, that's when it goes systemic. That's when people have skin issues. So in research, they've shown that the toxins go to the bloodstream and they affect the skin, pruritus, which is just a fancy way to say itchy skin, rashes, endothelial cells of your kidneys and your lungs get affected. So we could add lungs to this as well too. And then you see the brain. So anytime that there are brain type symptoms, I'm looking at, okay, how do we support brain drainage? In order for the brain to drain, lymph has to be draining. In order for the lymph to be draining, the liver bile duct has to be draining. In order for the liver bile duct to be draining, the colon has to be draining. And right, they all stack on top of each other. So I would really focus. That's where the gut is such a big impact. Hence why, your docuseries is so important to focus on, because that's really the base of the funnel for drainage. And I would always come back to typically infection and toxins, and then just not enough drainage. And the more sensitive people are, the more they react to things or they hit a wall, the more drainage needs to be supported.
Great. Thank you so much.
I love that visual representation.
Me too. I'm such a visual learner.
I've heard that on Q&As, and when we're interviewing experts from everywhere, I've heard that so many times, but to see it visually was like a super
helpful
for me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Pull it up fast here.
I was speedy. Like, some good APM there. It was good. He got the joke.
Okay. So this next question comes from Marley. She says, hello. Oh, so hang on, no, that's something about something else. She just wants to watch the next screening. Next time, Molly. Okay, Jackie said, hello, I'd like to know if psychiatric drugs, antidepressants, anxiolytics, antipsychotics produce gut issues and other health problems. I've been taking them for 10 years. Do they get absorbed by the body? Do we need to detoxify from them? If yes, and how? Thank you for the reply. So it's really similar to Adele's question, actually, but she's still currently on them.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the potential of something you're taking to store in the body. I mean, there's always that factor. 10 years ago, though, I mean, it's very possible the body's been able to clear it out. What I always focus with detoxification is fat cells. So if you're overweight, really focus on getting down to your ideal weight, whatever that is for your body. As you're doing that, make sure you're on something to bind on to the toxins, because fat cells are essentially just toxins. So typically when people are overweight, they're filled with toxins. So when you start dropping weight, then you're basically releasing the toxins from the stored fat. And that's when people can feel worse or like not do well health-wise, even though they're quote unquote, moving in the right direction as far as like weight. And it's not just about weight, but fat cells really are big toxin storages. So you want to focus on detoxifying. Liver's a big thing. And then just really detoxifying the body systemically. If you detoxify the body systemically, you're going to be fine. And there's many products that cross even the blood-brain barrier. If you're wondering, oh my gosh, is it alter my brain? Are there toxins up in my brain? I mean, TUDCA and the research has even shown it crosses the blood-brain barrier. So, I mean, other things and other products and stuff. So, what was the main question? I feel like I just went off on the wrong direction.
No, it was just about particularly psychiatric drugs.
Yeah.
The impact on the gut and detoxing.
Yeah. So, I do believe it alters your microbiome.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. I do. When it comes down to it, any psychiatric type issues, I'm looking parasites being really high on the list, and toxins too, because basically parasites love protein. So when you eat food, they eat the protein. Our body should break protein down into amino acids. The amino acids then are used to make neurotransmitters. Those are the happy hormones, right? And that's what they say with the SSRIs and the antipsychotic type medications is we need to alter the chemicals, the neurotransmitters, those kind of things. And ultimately, you want to look at parasite cleansing to really fix that, to fix the balance so you don't need the stuff. But then toxins can also throw the neurotransmitters off too. So that's why it typically comes back to those things. I'm not a fan of that stuff because it generally, one of the most common side effects of medications is constipation. And if you slow down the colon, I mean, you see what happens with the drainage funnel. Everything backs up and it just kind of closes the body off. So
that's a great point.
Make sure you're pooping.
and just to add sunshine, just particularly detoxing the gut. What about high stress and cortisol and hormone medication for years? Is that a similar thing? Because that's the next question. It groups in from sunshine.
Yeah, I would say similar protocols for sure. High stress though, the byproduct of the body basically creates a toxin when you're in a high stress environment. So those that have the perfect diet, they have the perfect protocols, but they live a very high stressful life and they're still having health issues. You got to get your lifestyle, your life, your stress levels under control. A lot of times it's not always what you're doing, but how you're responding. You got to get that under control because that really will affect the health of the body too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So this question comes from Agnieszka. And she says, dear Dr. Davidson, she says, so her question is about coffee enemas. She'd like to start doing them, but she has a food sensitivity to coffee. So she's like, what should I use instead? Is a water enema enough to purge my large intestine? If so, how often should I do them?
I haven't really seen anybody sensitive to the caffeine in coffee via enema. Now, though, if you have an allergy to it, I wouldn't try to push that. Like that's, I mean, if it's very minor, maybe then, right? But it's not, you never want to cause like anaphylactic, like, oh, well, Dr. J says it's really good, so I really need to do it. It's like, nah, your body might not. So just take that with a grain of salt there. Actually, one of the things that Dr. Watson and I were just talking about, was it yesterday morning? Sometimes I feel like I'm in a time warp. We had somebody tell us that, and we haven't tested this out yet. So again, but just we had somebody tell us that they took the Tudka Plus and opened the capsule, put in a little bit of water, and did a water enema, and they felt amazing. And I was like, interesting. So the idea of a coffee enema, you put coffee up in the rectum, and there's hemorrhoidal veins there that connect to a big vein that goes right to the liver. It's called the hepatic portal vein, about 6 inches in. So the coffee then gets absorbed in the rectum, goes right to liver. Well, I mean, it makes sense, at least in my mind. I just haven't tested this out yet. But doing, a capsule or two of Tudka Plus in some water, putting the water in and holding it for a little bit, then the Tudka Plus is going to go right to the liver. So I could, my hesitation is I just haven't tested this clinically yet. Other than having somebody have a raving, testimony about it. But again, that's something that's not coffee. So it might be something to test out. I don't think there's any harm in it. But I just, sometimes things seem too good to be true and you're like, oh, maybe that wasn't quite. And then other times, things just work amazing and we run with them. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. So the next question. My husband has had rheumatoid arthritis for 27 years and we have tried everything, but nothing seems to help. Most of the tablets he got from the hospital caused side effects, and then he was put on injections and his body now has rejected them. So he is now on, don't know how to pronounce it, baricitinib and steroids, which has been for approximately 4 years and has gradually cut the steroids down to 5 milligrams and seems to be getting allergic reactions to a lot more foods at this. And could this be down to parasites, or is there anything else that you advise that could help him? He's already had both knees replaced and would like to avoid any further replacements. Thank you.
Yeah, autoimmune. I mean, especially RA, one of the first things I'm thinking is Lyme disease. Lyme disease mimics RA. And here's the issue is when you have an autoimmune condition, how the mainstream medical world calms it down is by giving you a steroid, which suppresses your immune system. However, what if that autoimmune condition is caused from an infection? Then actually that's a contraindication to suppress your immune system when, you have an infection going on, because then the infection could actually get deeper, like Lyme disease. So, I mean, in the end, suppressing the immune system is just a Band-Aid, and you're just kind of opening up to, unfavorable things, but it's the medical way. So you can't go backwards. You're just going to move forward. How I'd move forward is I'd support drainage. I would definitely parasite cleanse, because parasites by themselves can fix autoimmune. When you have a chronic parasitic infection, you have two branches of the immune system primarily, Th1 and Th2. When you have a parasite infection, you get Th2 dominant. So your Th1 is low. Essentially, when you're flip-flopped, right, if you're off kilter, like what do they call that? Teeter-totter on playground, back in the day? If it's off kilter, that's autoimmunity, because your immune system is imbalanced, whether you're Th1 dominant or Th2 dominant. What they've shown, though, is chronic parasitic infections push you Th2 dominant, which then your immune system can't control viruses because it's in the wrong phase of the immune system, or the wrong shifting. So those that struggle with Epstein-Barr virus and I can't get over these viral infections and things, you parasite cleanse, and then your immune system can shift back more into midline, and it's amazing what you can get up over. It's the same thing with Lyme disease and these other chronic infections too. So I really like parasite cleansing first. Then once you parasite cleanse, then you can start going deeper into other chronic infections like Lyme disease, like Epstein-Barr, these other things that can be part of it. But just, you got to get to the source. If somebody could be listening right now and like, I'm never going to take pharmaceuticals ever again because Dr. J says they're bad. It's like, that's fine. I mean, I think there's always a time and place, like emergency crisis. But if you don't do things in your lifestyle to change, and if you don't follow alternate natural protocols to get to the sources, you're going to be stuck on these. Like, like you're going to feel horrible unless you manage the symptom pharmaceutically. So I'm just a big fan of acting and moving naturally, which of course is why all y'all are listening and asking questions. So
wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay. This question comes from Debbie. She says, I have a son who is 23 years old and he has terrible insomnia and has for quite some time, like several years. Like he goes nights without any sleep at all because he's not tired and can't sleep. He also has allergies to grasses and trees and other outside things that he's had since he was tiny. He has asthma, but he has that under control for the most part. What are some of the things I can do to help him be able to get more sleep?
Parasite cleanse for sure. So parasites are, and somebody's asking about the Tudga discount. Yeah, it's just use the Sarah 10
yes.
code.
Sarah 10 Apple. So
yeah, 10% off. So.
Yeah, Sarah with a capital. Oh, sorry, Sarah with a H or an H. An H.
I love how you say H.
SARAH.
H,
mate.
H, mate. So parasites get active at night. So when you're going to bed, melatonin should be raising up and cortisol should be dropping. That's what makes you tired. That's what allows you to fall asleep. That's what allows you to stay asleep. In the morning, then it reverses where cortisol starts going up, melatonin drops. The people that get those second, third winds at night, and the people that are like, I'm night owl, I can't go to bed, I'm so wound up. It's typically because the critters inside of your body, like parasites and these other infections, start getting active. And because their activity increases, their cortisol starts raising up. When their cortisol raises up, then inversely, just automatically, your melatonin drops. So that's typically why people don't feel tired. So as you control the infections, typically sleep will improve massively.
Okay, awesome.
From Ed. Dr. Davidson, my nephew has been suffering with bipolar disorder since he was a child. He is now 32 years old. He has been on every drug and drug combination known to treat the disorder, but still suffers from the depression mania cycle and now has the occasional epileptic seizure. I understand that this problem could be caused by heavy metal toxicity, a disturbed microbiome, and candida overgrowth. What tests do you recommend to determine if he has these issues, and what natural supplements treatments could help? Is chelation therapy safe? Any dietary changes needed? He only eats protein, no sugar, and if that makes any difference. Thank you so much for any information you can provide.
Chelation therapy needs to be monitored. It is rather kind of a dangerous thing. What's nice is there's newer chelators out that are safer. So if you think of like the DMSA, the DMPS, the EDTA, whether it's orally, suppository, or IV, those are kind of the chelators 1.0 version. The 2.0s, like the bioactive carbons, are safe with or without food, with young kids, older people, and they have long half-lives, so they're really easy to follow. As far as though like seizures and bipolar, I mean, the first thing that popped into my head was Lyme disease and some other infections that would create those type of things. But I come back to kind of the base of what I was talking about earlier, infection and toxins. I mean, if you're, was it nephew, whoever that was, 32-year-old with these type of things, there's probably a toxicity issue and there's probably an infection. And you have to understand, usually it's a toxicity issue that's first. That creates an environment then that attracts these pathogens to then overload the body. Like if you're wondering, why is there a chronic parasitic infection? It's because there's a chronic toxicity issue. Like there's a massive toxicity epidemic in the body, which creates a environment that allows them to thrive in your body. When you remove the underlying toxicity, now you're actually creating a barrier or a shield that'll actually protect you from future infections and future bugs, because your terrain, your environment is a lot healthier. So there's so many different things that are connected. And when you start knocking them down in order, and in general, I would say the order is focus on drainage and give your body some mitochondrial energy support. That's kind of first step. The second step I would put in there is parasite cleansing. Parasite cleansing will unlock the ability to clear mold toxin out. It'll unlock the ability to clear heavy metals out. It'll unlock the ability to clear out other chronic infections. So drainage and energy, mitochondrial energy, parasite infection, The next thing I would push forward with detoxing, glyphosate, heavy metals, the radioactive elements that I was mentioning earlier. And then kind of that last step typically is the chronic infection, which would be Lyme and the Epstein-Barr and, the other retroviruses, other viruses, other bacteria like Bartonella and, Ehrlichia, Babesia, these other type of infections that can be there. So if you follow the right order, and there's so many amazing tools naturally that are out there, which is such an exciting time that we live in. If you can find effective products and then go in the right order, I mean, I don't feel like you can do harm at all. Like, you're only going to get the body better.
Amazing. Thank you. So this question comes from Carmen. She's asking all the way from the Netherlands. She says, if one has several issues, let's say SIBO, parasites, mold, inflammation, GERD, and leaky gut, all going on, her question is where to start with the healing path, how to proceed. Do you have a roadmap for that?
So say that order again. It was SIBO, GERD.
SIBO, yeah, SIBO, GERD, parasites, mold, inflammation, and leaky gut.
Yep. So literally the order I just mentioned would be the order I would say. And when you're looking at drainage is where I throw the gut in like immediately. Again, this is why the gut is such an important thing. You hear that's like the foundation of health, and it's the first thing you need. I really believe it's like the first thing you need to go after, and it's one of the last things to actually fully heal. So yeah, I would the order I mentioned earlier, that is the order I would progress through.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
She says she saw on your website that Formula 2 is mentioned to not be available. When is it going to be available?
Yeah, we ran into some manufacturing issues on that. I don't have a timeline yet in the next month or two. So it's one we've tested extensively, and we've been, we found it amazing for liver flukes, strongyloides, blastocystis hominis, Clostridium type of bacteria. I mean, just finding it rocks out, and we're just going through some manufacturing hiccups, and hopefully in the next month or two it should be out. So
okay,
yeah, understandable.
Okay, thanks, Jay, and stay tuned, Carmen. Jay's working on it.
Yes.
All right. This question comes from Lucia. Maddie?
So unfortunately, I would like to ask about Lyme disease. Years ago, I had something like erythema.
Erythema migrans.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Good work. The mat whisperer on my arm. My doctor prescribed antibiotics for 2 weeks. Funny is that 1 year later, I had the same place, an infected hair follicle that has yet to be cleaned up by a small intervention at the hospital. My blood test for Lyme was negative, but I have chronic tiredness, various food sensitivities, gut problems. Although I'm alert with my diet, looks like nothing really helps. I also have joint pain, knee and shoulders for quite some time. Is it possible that I have a mild form of Lyme? And even though the test is negative, is there something else that can be done to confirm it? Or
it definitely sounds like it definitely sounds like Lyme disease just from the sound of it. Lyme disease testing is notoriously, it stinks. So, I mean, the classic laboratory, which is the Western blot and ELISA 2-tiered method, is 40 to 60% inaccurate. So you're better off doing a coin flip than if you get a positive, negative, then, trusting those results. Now, there's more advanced laboratories that are out there, like the DNA Connections Lyme Urine Panel and some other ones that are good as well too. But in the end, Lyme disease is a clinical diagnosis, which means, I just like to joke, it's like the doctor's got to use its brain and not just rely on what a lab test says. So when it's a clinical diagnosis, you have to use multiple things. You want to look at history, which a erythema migrans is basically the bullseye rash, is all that is. That is a classic telltale sign of Lyme disease. So you had Lyme disease if you got a bullseye rash. If you went on 2 weeks of antibiotics, it's very possible that was not enough to take care of it. Very plain and simple. The issue I have with antibiotics is it's only addressing bacteria. Ticks carry bacteria, parasites, viruses, and retroviruses, and even some fungus. So if you get a tick bite, it's technically a sting, but if you get a tick bite and you get pathogens, it might take care of the bacteria, but it's arguable on the Lyme disease. So I would really look at Lyme disease. I mean, Lyme disease, your history shows it. Even if the lab test shows negative, I mean, depending on what the test is, I would really look at that. And again, the order I mentioned, it's not as soon as you find out, oh, I have Lyme disease, let's go after and kill it. No. You still got to follow that same order. You still got to prepare your body, because if you jump right into, I'm going to go kill Lyme, you're going to react. You're going to hurt. You're going to have all kinds of symptoms because you didn't prepare your body. And even if you can handle the symptoms, you throw a bug bomb down your throat, whether it's natural or pharmaceutical like an antibiotic, you have to understand Lyme disease has been shown to live safely within parasites. So if you do not parasite cleanse, you're not going to get to all the Lyme because they're still protected. So that's why when you go through in the proper order, you're basically taking the shielding, the armoring away, and now you can clear Lyme out. So Lyme isn't a big deal as long as you address all the pieces of the puzzle. If all you try to go after is Lyme, it's an uphill battle. And I would really focus with your symptoms that you said, especially since you have the bullseye rash. Those sound like Lyme. I mean, joint pain, classic, especially if it's migrating. One day it's, oh, it's my shoulder hurts. Now it's my knee the next day. And now it's my hip and it starts moving around. I mean, classic, like 100% Lyme disease in that symptom.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you, Dr. J. I know that it was your wife, right, that you've been on the Lyme journey with. So, yeah, that you're the right person to answer that question. So that's great. Thank you.
From test to testimonial, right?
Yeah.
Mess to message. So.
Yes. Wonderful. This question comes from Daisy. She says, hello, it's still not clear to me where I should start. I was diagnosed with acute embolic stroke a little over 3 years ago. I was fortunate in that I was able to take the TPA, blood clot busting drug, which prevented me from having the usual lasting challenges that most folks experience following a stroke. I was put on a diuretic, a blood thinner, and a statin drug. I do not want to take a statin drug, but I sure do not want to have another stroke. My primary care doctor, kidney specialist, and pharmacist insist that I need to be on the statin drug. I'm 80 years old, type 2 diabetic, not on insulin, but I feel like I'm losing ground as far as my diabetes go. I have stage 3 kidney disease. I do have some colon issues, worse in the last while, and I feel like I have candida.
I'm going to share my screen because I just found the slide, and I think I could probably just leave it small here.
Mm-hmm.
Right here. So this comes from Journal 2003. TUDCA, that's how you spell it. You can see tauroursodeoxycholic acid there at the top.
Yeah.
TUDCA can help protect your brain from the effects of a stroke. Brain damage was reduced by 50% because of TUDCA. Right here, crosses the blood-brain barrier. I mean, when you're looking at stroke, it's coagulation of the blood. Infection loves to do that, where if you look at like your red blood cells under a live blood cell microscopy, they call it rolling or whatever, where they coin together, they get really sticky. There's a lot of great things that help to undo that. In the end, I always stand by the removing infection or removing toxins, and then also being in a good place mentally, being thankful for everything that's happened, being grateful, not holding on to any baggage like, yeah, my journey's been great except for this thing and that thing. It's like, no, you're still holding on to things. Just let it all go. Love that it all happened. It's hard though with the blood, the statins, like I don't get that at all. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, you're pretty much, that's how you get Alzheimer's, is by being on a statin. So it doesn't make sense for brain health because your brain's primarily cholesterol. When you're in the stroke category, blood thinners, usually like the warfarin, the rat poison, that kind of stuff. I just think there's other natural things that are really good for that. Gosh, there is. Sarah, if you want to email me, I'll find and just say blood clotting. There's 2 supplements that are really good for that. And I can't think of the names right now. I can find them and send you links. And if you want to pass on to this person.
I'd love that. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. Stay tuned, Daisy. We'll get back to you. Thank you so much. Okay, this question comes from Tyler. She's also online. I saw her pop up before. She says, hello, Dr. Davidson. Microbe Formula's detox protocol has been a light at the end of a very long tunnel for me with hypothyroidism and motility issues for 2+ decades. I was initially diagnosed with hypothyroid back then and was given a radioactive iodine pill instead of opting for surgery. Since then, the late 90s, I have been on Levoxyl every day to support my thyroid function. My question, can the iodine pills reverse the radioactive iodine pill I took so long ago? Or is there anything you can recommend to get off the thyroid medication I'm taking? It has aluminium and carcinogenic dyes, not to mention other ingredients, all contributing to my SIBO, in my opinion. Been on the protocol for 7 weeks and have seen incredible, and that's in uppercase, change. Thank you again, Dr. and to Sarah and Matt, always.
So if the thyroid's been killed off all the way, nuked, if you will, or if it's been surgically removed, I don't think you can like raise the function because the organ's kind of gone. The liver is amazing. It can completely regenerate itself, even if a little specks left. Thyroid, not quite like that. If though it just kind of killed the function, the tissue's still there, the organ's still there, then I think there's always hope in health and healing. The one thing I would mention is there's a product called biomolecular oxygen, and it's a liquid. You can put a drop or two on your finger and you can rub it. So right between the Adam's apple, a little bit below is right where the thyroid is. So you can rub that morning and night. That'll actually help the thyroid and help the activity. That's actually a really good thing for the last person. I think Daisy was asking about stroke, is biomolecular oxygen, because that's the biggest concern of stroke is you lose oxygenation to tissues. So by taking that, you'll have oxygenated tissues. Even if there was a incident, it shouldn't really affect the body because you're staying oxygenated. We had early on in testing on that, our scientists gave it to a gentleman who was on oxygen. He was 82 or 84, couldn't go up without oxygen. Gave him a dose of it, and he went off of his oxygen, and he was off of it for 10 or 11 hours before he needed to go back on the oxygen because it helped his body, saturate oxygen so well. So it's a really good kind of long-term thing. The thyroid, iodine is absolutely needed for thyroid, but you can throw your thyroid into an autoimmune storm from iodine. So I believe iodine is an important nutrient. I would always have the base, like plant-based minerals and the iodine to support it. But they basically said something about radioactive something, right?
Radioactive iodine to kill the thyroid.
So that is a radioactive element. The protocol on how to, let me just pull it up from my at-home program because I just updated it with the stuff. So to give you the latest and greatest, you want the bioactive carbon minerals help with radioactive elements. The Mito Restore is a mitochondrial formula, but that's actually been the breakthrough because it's cleared deep radioactive elements that we haven't seen with any other thing before. So the bioactive carbon minerals, the Mito Restore, the bioactive carbon foundation, that's a radiation binder, the iodine that I mentioned, and then the last thing is just find a zinc product, some kind of zinc supplement to take in addition. And that is the most effective thing right now for removing radioactive elements like radioactive iodine, cesium, uranium, strontium, radium. All these things. And radioactive elements are more dangerous than heavy metals. And we know the danger of heavy metals and mercury and lead and all this stuff. Radioactive elements are off the chart as far as even more dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Great suggestions. This question comes from Margaret. Okay. She says, I'm trying to get information for my 45-year-old daughter who has SIBO, GERD, and many food allergies and leaky gut. So a similar picture to a lot of the people that you've answered so far. I'm very unclear about what she can do for SIBO in addition to eating soft stews and soups. What else can she do? Also, when she tries to go off PPIs, her throat burns and she struggles to speak without constantly clearing her throat. I'd appreciate any suggestions you have. So severe GERD.
So there is if you have a practitioner that does muscle testing, by checking the neck and the face area and upper shoulder area for ligament issues and fixing those, that can like automatically clear a throat up. It's a weird thing, but it's a great party trick, I guess, if somebody had a throat type issue. It depends on the area you're at. There's a technique that's not very popular, but it's called CPK. I think I forget what it stands for. Something plus kinesiology. Maybe Chiro plus CPK. Find a CPK practitioner. There's not a lot of them, but they're really good at that type of stuff. Parasites, opening up drainage. I mean, those are key. What were some other main things with that question?
Yeah, SIBO, GERD, food allergies, and leaky gut.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep. I would recommend the stuff I've been talking about today.
Yeah, a lot of what we've been speaking about, Margaret, would be very appropriate for your daughter. So there's lots of things mentioned so far in other case studies you could definitely start on, in addition to the little interesting bits and pieces that Jay just mentioned then. What time is it for you there in Puerto Rico, Dr. J?
9:17.
9:17. So
another probably 15 minutes I could go.
Okay, cool. So with these questions, can we do like rapid fire, three sentence answers, and we'll just like.
Yes, let's go.
Okay, cool. All right. So Laura wants to know, what are your thoughts on lectins? Ready, set, go.
It's typically the people that ask this are already deep in the weeds on the nutrition or I should say on the diet, and the diet is not the 800-pound gorilla in the room or the pink elephant in the room, meaning that usually the attention needs to go to other places before getting really knee deep and finicky on the diet. So I'll just uncomment on the diet. Usually that's the first place people start, with gut issues. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is eczema ever a sign of parasites? Can you talk about adult eczema and the best way to both calm the skin in the short term and heal from the inside in the long term?
Yep. Skin's always a reflection of what's happening in the gut. And then the big thing with eczema is liver bile duct. So if you work on the gut and liver bile duct with the things talked about tonight, skin will definitely improve.
Okay, cool. Julie is asking for her son. He's 6 years old, and he has had a very dysbiotic gut picture for a long time. And they just found out he has Clostridium difficile, toxins A and B.
When the Formula 2 comes out by Microbe Formulas, that's going to be your ticket. Until then, I don't have a great answer for you on what's going to help the Clostridium.
Okay, so same picture as who was asking about that before from the Netherlands. So we're all with bated breath waiting for Formula 2. Okay, thank you. Done. Can you take Tudka when you're doing your Dr. J's detox protocol? Is it harmonious?
Yeah. Really, what we're looking at, like when you go to when you go through the you guys' link with Microbe and code and stuff. If you go to the starter detox protocol, Tudka, we're adding that into every single phase based on the results we're seeing clinically and the fact that it supports so many more things than just drainage. So, I mean, it's like the ultimate protector. Our scientist, he's been in the nutraceutical and actually worked in the pharmaceutical world. So in the pharmaceutical world, he would, sorry, I get a little long-winded, but he worked in the pharmaceutical world and they're like, hey, we want our product to do this. So he'd take natural stuff to then create it, Then they'd send it to another team that they would synthesize it to then patent it, right? So he knows all this natural stuff. He said out of all the things he's created, all the things he's studied, all the things he's taken, Tudka is the top 5 things of all time that he will take forever. And when he said that right away, I was like, it's like a drainer, right? Water soluble bile acid. Because I told him like we need to look into it. And now diving into more of the research, I understand why. So
exciting stuff. Linda, advice for diarrhea, loose stools, undigested food in stools.
So I'm a big fan when you're having diarrhea for binders, like the bioactive carbons, the Biotox and Foundation are awesome. But when you, another option to do is Mimosa Pudica Seed Challenge. So that's essentially taking 2 caps every hour. Just set an alarm on your phone for 6 hours, maybe 8 hours, and then just drink lots of water. And the Mimosa Pudica seed's really sticky. That's the thing that's good for the gut and parasites and all this. But what happens is you're constantly putting little bits of that sticky stuff down the GI tract, and that can completely reset the kind of chronic diarrhea bits and flares.
Awesome. Leona, I'm already doing coffee enemas, taking mimosa, but she still feels a crawling sensation in my liver area, especially around the full moon. I can't get them out of my liver. It's been 2 years. How much Tudka can I take max in a day?
The number that we're seeing, so 1 cap twice a day is normal dosing. If somebody's sensitive, just start with 1 cap once a day. Generally, though, when people need help, 2 caps twice a day is a number that just changes people's lives for sure. And consider, especially if that person's doing coffee enemas, to do some antiparasitics before and right after the coffee enema too, because coffee enema will mobilize the worms. So throw some antiparasitics before, do the coffee enema, and when you're done, throw some antiparasitics afterward, and you'll hit them better too. Like Tudka before and after too, create that movement in there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Good tool.
On the topic of Mimosa Pudica, do you follow the recommended dosage or up it?
2 caps twice a day is the number. After you do that for a month or 2, and if you don't notice anything, then increase it. And what I like to do increasing it wise is take 3 caps twice a day for a week. If you don't notice any changes in your stool, how you feel, then increase it to 4 caps twice a day for a week. Then do that for a week. Then do 5 caps twice a day. The 5 caps twice a day, for whatever reason, seems to be a number where stuff just starts flooding out of people. My mother-in-law was taking it, and it's always fun working with family, of course, but I kept telling her, like, increase. And then all of a sudden she got to 5 caps twice a day, and she's like, Jay, texting, like, look, and of course sending me pictures, it's always fun.
Your mother-in-law's poop.
Yeah. But she's like, look at this. She's like, I'm so freaked out. I stopped taking it 2 days, and look at it, it's still coming out. I'm like, well, stay on it, But so the idea of parasites, and this is an important one. You're like, oh, I'm not seeing anything, I'm not feeling anything. I don't feel like I can get over the hump. What happens is sometimes you have to dose so high that you just bust the wall down. When the wall comes crumbling down, then it's floodgates where now you can start getting through them. And that's not everybody. But if you're like, I haven't seen anything, then just keep up in it. I don't feel anything. Again, only 30% of parasites are visible by the naked eye, but it's so powerful when you see something come out, because you're like, what do you need to test for? Like, look at the toilet. Look, hun.
Awesome, thank you.
You're definitely on the inside when you're looking at your mother-in-law's poo.
Yeah, I know.
comes with the territory in the health world, right?
Okay, so this question, we have a viewer that they had done a stool test through Viome, and it came back saying they had 2 different viruses. They want to know how to go about killing viruses. Yeah.
So this is just my bias. I don't like those tests. I think it's way too early to judge. So here's my issue with it. You run a stool test, and certain things come up on the stool test. How do we know that those things are in the gut, growing and flourishing, versus your body got exposed to them and just booted it out and flushed it out as a byproduct, where it's not actually harboring in the gut? That's my question. And I haven't seen research to actually show that, yeah, the stool test is the gold standard because your stool is exactly what's in your GI. Because there's research that's basically they probed the small intestine and the intestinal tract, and then they looked at a stool test and they were completely different. So that really started getting me processing. So I think it's too early. Maybe that technology, because that technology I believe is run by like a artificial intelligence supercomputer, and their goal was to collect like 1 million samples to try to have the computer try to learn and correlate things. And I mean, maybe someday, but at least my opinion is not yet.
Okay, thank you. Well, I feel like we should still talk about that question a little bit longer. So if someone legitimately did have viruses that were struggling to kick, where would you start?
Oh, so if there's a virus, you have to parasite cleanse to bring the immune system back into balance so that the body's natural immune system can battle the viruses. Otherwise, if you stay Th2 dominant from a chronic parasitic infection, viruses replicate uncontrolled, like meaning like you can never get a handle on them. So parasitic cleanse to then bring the immune system back. Sometimes just bringing the immune system back, body can take care of it naturally because we have an amazing body. But then if you're looking at additional things to support, the bioactive carbon foundation has viral and retroviral things right in the bioactive carbons. And especially if they're just picked up in the GI tract, those are easy to take care of.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so back to 2 more minutes of speedy. Okay. Can parasites cause constipation?
Yes. Yep. They can cause diarrhea. They can cause constipation. They can cause a back and forth, like either or.
Okay, awesome. What about a parasite protocol for kids between the ages of 6 to 8?
Yeah, same thing as an adult, just you're doing for that age, you're typically working up to so if the child is 10 years old and 100 pounds, you're working up to half adult dosing, working up to. If the child's like 5 or 6 years old and 50 pounds, and so you always want to take, is your child like big for the age or small for the age? Then you're working up to a quarter of the adult dosing.
Okay, thank you. Matt?
This person saying they eat certain foods, for example, broccoli and kimchi or apples. I have gas and small amount of mucus that is expelled a while later. Often the mucus is followed by a small amount of stool. What causes this? This has been going on for years. Additionally, I have multiple bowel movements per day, but the stool consistently is not uniform with each movement. Consistency
is not uniform.
Is not uniform.
Yeah, so it might be a buildup of biofilm, in the GI tract. Mimosa pudica seed is definitely the number one tool for biofilm in the GI tract. A lot of times I would say just start off parasite cleansing because that can just disrupt the gut and the digestive process. The other thing, though, that I mentioned a bunch is just the bile duct. Opening that up and getting that moving can dramatically change digestion because then your stomach acid will naturally increase. The bile increasing, you'll be able to absorb a lot more fat-soluble nutrients and help with actual absorption within the body. So I would focus on that and then see if there's any lingering things to then, make some other small alterations.
Okay, great. Last question. Laura, so scroll with. Is bile reflux connected to parasites?
Yeah, it can be. So there's different parasites that love to be in the bile. These are so fun too. It's like I just never know the questions. Just fire away. I'm just listening. That's why I stare off into the wall there. So different parasites love to affect the bile. Liver flukes mentioned. Strongyloides, that's a big one for the muscles. So if somebody works out and they feel like extra sore and like crashy the next day, it usually means there's typically like parasites in the muscle, and then you aggravate them, and then they produce toxins and you feel worse when you're supposed to feel better. Giardia, roundworms. So roundworms can climb from the small intestine up into the bile duct and clog it up. So if there's any bile type issues, estrogen clogs up the bile. glyphosate's been shown, which is an active ingredient in Roundup, to actually shunt the production and the secretion of bile as well. So you're looking at toxins, you're looking at infection, you're looking at estrogen dominance. I mean, all those things can affect basically the bile area, which then could lead to bile issues in the body.
Okay, I did say last question, but I lied. I feel like
it was just
we
this
should
one
answer
person
this one
because
first.
they try to get in contact, I think, with your company, and so they're like, "Oh, you're on the Q&A, so yeah, this is something we can't answer next week." Background: low thyroid, lots of stress currently, struggle losing weight, a natural medicine man who muscle test said my pancreas is not functioning at the best. But does not think I have parasites or toxins. But currently I'm bloating a lot more and have lots of gas. I wanted to do the parasite cleanse and felt I could only do the products you recommended on the moon phase. What do you suggest so far as the product, and how much? Thanks so much, Heather.
I always recommend, if somebody was run into myself or like Dr. Todd Watts out in public and like, hey, I want to work on my health, what do? We send you the detox starter protocol. That's literally why we created it. If you were to say one product from what you said, Tudka Plus, because the pancreas and the liver bile duct. So the liver makes the bile that goes to the gallbladder and the bile tree that then empties. It kind of looks like a tree, right? Little branches that then get into a thick trunk. Well, the pancreas also makes bile that then connects to that same trunk, and then that bile then goes actually into the intestinal tract. That's called the sphincter of Oddi, that essentially controls the bile from the pancreas and the liver bile duct. So if you're testing where there's a pancreas stress, that could still be bile and could essentially be linked with the liver too. There's pancreatic flukes. Obviously, that person said there's not parasites, but that is a possibility. I would really focus with Tudka. Tudka's been shown to increase bile flow 250%, like I mentioned right at the very beginning, increase the concentration of bile, and also increase the ability for the body to get rid of the bile via the stool so that it makes new. And why it needs to make new is so that it flows better. When it flows better, it takes stress off the organs. When it's backed up and it's coagulated, or what they call cholestasis is the technical term, when the bile is stagnant, then those organs get stressed out. So that could be potentially why, the pancreas is showing up as being stressed.
Okay, great. Thank
Awesome.
you, Dr. J.
That was a mission. You smashed it. And if we haven't gotten to your questions, as I said, we still have some more time left. Next week, submit your questions. But we got through a lot today.
We really did.
We smashed through a lot, and that was really, really down to Dr. J's high APM and fast mind, which is always appreciated. Thank you so much for the time you've made available. Don't forget, I'll type it in the chat again. We have a discount code if you, as I said, this is not to push the products in you, but we just know the products are so good.
A lot of our tribe have used.
Yeah, we've had a lot of success in the people that have used it in our tribe.
Yeah.
Our personal family, we have it in our own cupboard at home.
Yeah.
So
we've got a customer service team. So if you have questions beyond, you can just email our team. We also they're also on the phone too. So if you want to talk to a real person,
that's nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Awesome. So the Tudka that we've been talking about, that's hot off the press.
2 weeks
only
old.
2 weeks ago. So that's pretty exciting. And then obviously
so many testimonials already. So I'm just, and maybe it's just because it was kind of my baby, but you love to see your babies mature and help people.
Yeah. Congratulations on your pregnancy and birth, Dr. J. So everyone say thank you. I can already see them coming in. That's awesome. Amazing, Dr. J. Tons of helpful information. I love your approach and knowledge. Great overview. Wow. That's from Ron. That's awesome. Planning to use a protocol. So everyone, you can get the 10% off using Sarah with a H.
And if you're watching if you can't see it in the chat, there's a link on the virtual health retreat page.
And I'll email it to everyone as well, so in case they missed it and they're watching the replay and they can't see our chat.
It's so cool, Dr. J, the people that you're impacting with this knowledge and what your company's doing. It's not mainstream information. Like, you're not finding this out, at your local doctor's office. This is what we love to expose to our community. And you and Todd are doing such an amazing work, getting this information out there and doing one of the biggest, cleanup jobs that we have on our planet right now, which is our own bodies, which are carrying these toxins. So thank you so much for just being a pioneer in this space, creating an amazing company, and impacting people all around the world, and serving our community, which you've done so well today.
Thank you so much. I hope you can see all those comments, Dr. J.
Yeah. I see them pouring in, and just appreciate y'all for making it this far in. I mean, you are a health warrior, and you're on the right path. And there's so much great information out there. And I just want to thank you, Sarah, and you, Matt, for doing all the ridiculously hard work to put together what you've put together, the Gut Solutions, to change lives. I don't think people grasp all the work behind the scenes that it takes. And so kudos to you guys. And I just appreciate being able to serve. And anything else you need, just let me know. But I hope everybody has an amazing night.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate it. Thank you, Jay. And thank you, everyone, for your lovely thanks to Dr. J. And yes, we'll have that replay up ASAP. So thank you, everyone. Have a great evening or morning or middle of the night, wherever you are. Love you all. Thank you so much.
See ya.
Bye.